Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar about visualizing inequality, where we'll be launching the tool on digital inclusion. My name is Maja Bobrinskaya. I'm the senior GIS analyst and cartographer with Nordregio, and here with me today, my colleague Sarah, who will be monitoring the chat and helping to pick up your questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. I'm a comms officer at Nordregio and I will be monitoring the chat today. We will try to pick up your question as we go, but we will save them for the discussion later. And we will also encourage everyone to share where you're from in the chat, because we have so many people. I've looked at the registration list and attendees, and we have people tuning in from all over the Nordic region and Baltic region. So please share with us where you're from. That would be so cool to know. And we also wanted to, since we're talking about digital inclusion today, we wanted to also get your perspectives on what that concept means to you. So we would like to also launch a poll, and let's see if we can go live here. Let's see. Yes, and while that's running, we're going to go back to Maria.
Thank you, Sarah. Here's our agenda for today. So I will speak briefly why digital inclusion needs a map and why Nordregio is using data and maps in our research so much. And then my colleague Maja Brynteson will speak about Digital Inclusion in Action project, which is the project that is hosting the tool that we are launching today. And the tool will be demoed by its developer, Anna Vasilevskaya, the GIS analyst and cartographer at Nordregio. And then we will move over to a Q&A session and open discussion, where we will be happy to hear your questions and feedback. So why digital inclusion needs a map? And Nordregio is focusing on having data-driven research as a base for policymaking. We are working here in the Nordic Baltic region, where spatial aspects are especially important. So for us, it is crucial to work with data that depicts all variations of the regions and municipalities. So when we start the projects, we try to come up with harmonized indicators that will cover the whole Nordic Baltic region on municipal scale, or if it's not possible for some of the data on regional scale. We think that the combination of quantitative and qualitative methods is at the core of having a full picture on aspects that are relevant to regional development, to demography, to local economy, and attractiveness. So that's why we are so much into the data, and not only that, but visualizing data on a map, because having a visual representation of indicators is so much more user-friendly and important as for us as researchers, but also for our audience to have a better picture. And for topics like digital inclusion, it is especially important because digital inclusion is lies on the crossroads between infrastructure and social aspects. So it's both about having access to digitalization and tools, but also for the people to having right set of skills and background to be able to not be left out. And existing measures have some limitations. For example, the DESI index that is brought by Eurostat only highlights the digital inclusion on national or very granular level. And we understand for the Nordic Baltic region, that's not the case, where we want to see differences on the local scale. And this is also, once again, important to measure both quantitative and qualitative, to identify not only the gaps, but the reasons for them. And at this note, I'm inviting my colleague Maja, who will speak about the digital inclusion as a whole topic, both from qualitative and quantitative perspective. Welcome, Maja.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Maja Brynteson, and I work as a research fellow here at Nordregio. And I have been working with our digital inclusion projects the last few years. So today I will be setting the scene. I will give a quick introduction to why digital inclusion is such an important topic in the Nordic and Baltic region. And then I will present our research project, Digital Inclusion in Action, and our objectives and the outcomes of our work. So let's start with why digital inclusion is such an important topic in the Nordic and Baltic region. We often refer to the Nordic and Baltic paradox here to argue for the importance of digital inclusion, and I will explain what we mean with this paradox. So we are among the most highly digitalized countries in Europe. According to recent studies and data, Finland, Denmark, and Sweden are among the top performers in Europe when it comes to basic digital skills among citizens. And the picture is also positive with respect to government services, with high rates of e-government usage, as well as digital public services for citizens, which are high in Finland and all of the Baltic countries. But this also means that increasing parts of everyday life require digital skills and tools to participate. So having these skills and tools are now fundamental for being an active member of our societies. And expectations placed on individuals continue to rise. But it is important to recognize that not everyone is equally included in these digital societies. Certain groups have been identified as being at risk of digital exclusion, facing different barriers. So while the Nordic and Baltic countries are at the digital frontier in many areas, we see that a share of the population remains at risk of exclusion. Oh, sorry. So here is the Nordic and Baltic paradox. The more digital our societies become, the greater the risk of deepening the digital divide. So the consequences of this digital divide and of digital exclusion are profound and far-reaching. And they include, for example, not getting access to important information, missed job and educational opportunities, barriers to civic engagement and democratic participation, limited access to healthcare and other essential services, challenges in performing different economic activities, and increased risk of social isolation. So digital exclusion doesn't just reflect existing inequalities, it can actually deepen them. So understanding digital inclusion and what makes a person at risk of exclusion in our region is therefore really important. So now I have been talking about the consequences and the risk of exclusion, but who are actually at risk of facing this? This slide provides a closer look at the various groups identified as at risk of digital exclusion, and we have looked more closely at older adults, people with disabilities, immigrants, people with low or no formal education, rural communities, some young people, and people with low income. Now, it is important to say that not everyone in these groups struggles with digitalization. Many are doing just fine. But overall, these are the groups that research consistently identifies as being more vulnerable to exclusion. So why are some people struggling, and what are the most common barriers in the Nordic and Baltic countries? When we talk about barriers to digital inclusion, we usually divide them into two main categories. First, we have access barriers, shown in the lighter blue boxes here. And these are about having the physical means to participate in digital life, like access to a stable internet connection or owning a digital device such as a smartphone or computer. Second, we have capability barriers, shown in the darker blue boxes. And these relate to the skills and competence needed to use digital tools. And this includes, of course, digital skills, also literacy and language, lack of domain knowledge, and also a lack of trust or willingness to participate. And both types of barriers can prevent people from fully participating, and often they overlap. So that was a quick introduction to why digital inclusion is an important topic in the Nordic and Baltic region. And this is exactly what our research project, Digital Inclusion in Action, focuses on. It is a 3-year research project running from October 2022 to October 2025. So we are at the very end of this project period. It builds on the Ministerial Declaration Digital North and is funded by the Nordic Council of Ministers, and especially the Ministerial Council for Digitalization. And there's 3 project partners. It's us at Nordregio, who is the lead partner. And with us, we also have the consultancy consortium Digital Europe and the Nordic Welfare Center. And we have 4 main activities. And it's a collaboration with NOBID on ERD rollout in the Faroe Islands, Greenland, and Åland. We've been mapping civil society actors across the Nordic and Baltic region, and an indicator mapping for digital inclusion in the Nordic and Baltic region, and also an analysis of political initiatives. So with this project, we aim to contribute to an inclusive digital transition in the Nordic and Baltic societies by promoting collaboration, dialogue, and knowledge sharing between practitioners and policymakers in the 11 Nordic and Baltic societies. To break down this aim, we have 4 objectives, and they are to understand digital inclusion dynamics in the Nordic and Baltic region, to foster Nordic-Baltic collaboration on inclusion, to enhance awareness of digital inclusion policies in the Nordic and Baltic region, and to create a Nordic and Baltic monitoring framework. And we have been very busy the last 3 years, publishing many different reports and other outputs. And we will share this PowerPoint with you afterwards, and then you can find all of the links to our reports. So just before summer, we published a report on ERD rollout linked to inclusion challenges in Greenland, Åland, and the Faroe Islands. And last year, we published a story map on civil society actors working with digital inclusion in the Nordic and Baltic countries. And we also published a policy report on national policy initiatives on digital inclusion in the Nordic and Baltic region. And together with our project partner, Digital Europe, we published a report on monitoring practices on digital inclusion, and also a case study from the private sector, focusing on Denmark's public transportation system. And our last output, what we are here today to talk about, is the mapping tool for digital inclusion indicators relevant for the Nordic and Baltic region, together with a framework paper. So now it's time for the tool presentation and live demo by our tool developer and GIS analyst, Anna. And we will share a QR code with you shortly, and also a link in the chat to the tool webpage. So please join us and navigate the tool while Anna guides us through the process.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna, and I will guide you through the digital inclusion indicator mapping tool. There is a link in the chat that I encourage you to follow so we can go through the tool together. I will be going step by step. So for those of you who are interested to use the tool in the future, it can be of a great help to learn some basics together with me. So please take a look at the screen now. So basically the tool consists of 3 main panels. The panel to the left, you can follow the area I'm indicating right now, representing the layers that we can see in the center of the script on our map. So the layers has 3 main topics. They are the layers. If you click on the arrow here, you see that 3 layers are available under the regional division chapter. So we can see the NUTS2 basic regions, we can see the Nordic urban-rural typology and DigiUrban typology. So with the clicking on the blue box, you are either choose to visualize this layer, or if you click out, the layer disappears. So that was the first area of topics. The second one are the socio-economic indicators that my colleague Maja has been talking previously before. So these are the indicators about the groups that are typically highlighted as the groups of being at the risk of digital exclusion. So they are layers connected to old age dependency factor, to the young age dependency, to the people with a foreign background. And please see how the colors are changing on the map when I click on the layer. The people with lower educational levels, the people at the risk of the poverty, and the layer of unemployment. All the layers are showing in the relative, meaning in the percentage, so it's the share of population. The third group of indicators are concerned the digital skills and services indicators. Here we have 3 layers: people who never used the computer, people with limited digital skills, and people with limitation due to the health problems. The last but not the least layer represents the percentage of the households covered with the 5G connection. So here you can see on the gray area, we have the territories with no data or not such a connection available. The final layer is the product of this part of the project. So this is concerning the Digital Inclusion Index that varies from 0 to 10. I'm not going to go through the details and methodology and technical aspects of how we calculated this layer. Yes, I see the question. There is Iceland and Greenland. So I'm not going to go through the technical aspects of the index. There is a special button here, instructions and framework paper. So by clicking on this, you can access the methodological paper that you can read more carefully about how and why we chose the indicators and the index that we are applying here. On the right panel, this panel is connected to the left panel, and it shows the legend of the layers that you are selected. So for example, right now I have the Digital Inclusion Index. And on the right side, you can see the color scheme and the gaps to which color is the value of the index coming to. So for example, we see in the dark purple, we have the areas that have the index 9 till 10. So by clicking on the area of the interest, we can also see all the values that are behind the data for this municipality. So for example, we choose a municipality in Greenland, and we see the region code, we see the municipality code. We see it's belonging to the level of typology, meaning rural, urban, or intermediate for DigiUrba, or more coarse for the Nordic rural urban typology. We see all the indicators that has been calculated, so you can track and follow. Additionally, there is a graphic representation of the pie chart, so you can see how much which indicator have contributed to the index. And the same applies to the all layers. So all layers have this information for every municipality. So the information is a bit different depending on what layer you are showing, but it's comprehensive. So all the municipalities have this information and data behind them. Another tool that is applied here is the filtering. So by clicking here on the left corner, you see the filter options. The filter options are based on the DigiUrba and Nordic typology. So in DigiUrba, there are 3 classes by the level of rurality of the Nordic and Baltic municipalities. So you can choose to see, for example, only the urban regions. And you can see for the all layers you are selected, this filter is active. So you see all the municipalities that are belonging to the urban. For example, you want to see urban and intermediate. You can additionally click on the intermediate option here. So both of the types of the municipalities will appear. The same comes to the Nordic typology. There are 7 classes, and you can add them on to the existing DigiUrba selection, or simply unmark everything that already has been selected and choose only to see the, for example, rural area close to urban and local centers in the rural areas on your map. This button is to refresh all the filters, so everything gets unmarked. As I mentioned before, there is an instruction page. So these are instructions of how to use the tool. You can go and take a look on them in your tempo and follow all the questions you may have had after the presentation. There is a framework paper and there's a project page. So by clicking on this button, you will be redirected to the Digital Inclusion in Action project page on our website. The final, more administrative part of this tool is located here on the upper top corner. So you can see some short information about the tool. You can see the statistics. So here, for example, clicking, you will see the mean values by country for every indicator that we use. That's a simple option of how you can briefly compare the statistics behind of each indicator. There is a printing option. You can click on that one, and you have a few options of what format you can print. There is A3 and A4 landscape and portrait. So clicking by this, for example, you would like to print A3 landscape, you click print, then you wait till it loads up. And then when your file will be ready, you can click on it and see it and download it. It takes some time, so we can leave this, but you are encouraged to try it at your own time. Okay, here we go, it's ready. So now we can click and we see the map with the area that we have chosen. It's the best working when you're zooming in, so you actually can see things are on the better scale than I showed you right now. Another option is the share. So just simply clicking by share on LinkedIn, embed, share by your email, or copy and share the link. You can share the website or the information that you found interesting here. There is an option of the table here you can access all the information that we collected, all the statistical information we have collected on all the municipalities. So this is also possible to download. If you click here in the actions and you have the statistics here, you also can choose the statistics by the field. So for example, you would like to choose the statistics about the digital inclusion index. So you see the minimum, maximum, average, and standard deviation. That's a bit overcomplicated, but that exists here. So additionally, you can download this table in Excel, comma separated format and convert it to the Excel. The last thing I would like to talk about is the option of seeing two maps at the same screen. So by clicking this icon with the two maps and choosing here the two maps to activate it, you have an option to select the leading layers or the trailing layers. For this, I recommend already from the beginning, predefine what layers you would like to see. So for example, we would like to see two socio-economic indicator layers, young age dependency and unemployment. So then unfolding the leading layer, we already see these layers are being active here. So if they're not active, we cannot see them. And to make them active, first we select them here. So for example, I would like to see an unemployment on the left map and the young age dependency on the right map. So for the trailing layers, I choose young age dependency, and for the leading layer, I choose the unemployment map. So if we zoom out a bit, we simply can drag this curtain on the map, and we see how the different municipalities changing, they are belonging to different classes. Here there is a legend again, so you can see what classes which municipality is belonging to. This is a simple tool of quickly understanding and comparing some indicators of your interest. As you may already have seen, there is a plus and minus button that show the zoom in and zoom out. There is a home button that just returns us to the scale that I have predefined for this tool, and there is a north location button. Additionally, you can scroll with your mouse, zoom in, zoom out, and if you right click on your mouse and then you rotate the map for some reason, if you would like to move it from the north orientation. That's a bit of weird location of the Nordic Baltic countries now, but we simply click on that button and it locates back to the right positioning. That was the presentation of the digital inclusion indicator tool from me. And I would like to welcome my colleagues back for the continuous discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. It's a very interesting tool, a lot of hard work. I noticed that you mentioned the filtering option. Do you think that typologies and level of urbanization and rurality is specifically interesting for digital inclusion? What was the thinking process behind?
Yes, that was the hypothesis also with this project. Additionally, that was found in the literature that there is a divide in the level of rurality and urbanity within the countries. And moreover, the digital divide is being strengthened, as Maja said, with the level of increasement of digitalization. The divide is also increasing. Additionally, the social economic indicators are also having a divide in the rural and urban municipalities. So further, overmore, this is strengthening also the digital divide. And That's why also the combination of these factors play its role.
I see. Yeah, thank you. And we also welcome back Maja. Maja, what do you think? What was the most interesting aspect of the tool, in your opinion?
I think I want to continue with what Anna just said. Like, for me, the most interesting aspect was really that the tool shows and like visualizes the complexity of digital inclusion and exclusion. So we talk a lot about this, like different user groups that are identified as being more vulnerable to digital exclusion and the barriers they may face. And with this tool, you can kind of see it. You can see which municipality or region who is facing more challenges. And seeing these layers mapped out geographically makes it more tangible for me, at least. And it helps us grasp like where digital exclusion is happening and where we can kind of focus our interventions and solutions. So that was the most interesting aspect.
I see. Yeah, that's really, really interesting and important to be able to do that. I see that we've got a few questions in the chat, and we still encourage everyone to log into the tool, test it, and send us questions. Sarah will pick them up and send over to me here. So the first question that we got is probably to Anna. Is disability included in health as a barrier?
We were trying to find all the possible indicators we can, and we would gladly include more information about the disability in the indicator. Sadly, that was one of the challenges in the project, to find the data connected to the indicators we would like to include. So, for example, for the disability, the only data we found was from the Eurostat. So it was on the national level, which we partly include in our tool as the disability that prevents people from the using of digital tools. So there is one indicator for this, but we understand that it's not enough and would like to broaden this up, but sadly, for the data that is available, that was not possible.
Yeah, but thank you. And since you already brought up the barriers, what were the main obstacles in data collection here for this tool?
I would like to mention two barriers. The first one is simply the absence of data. I believe this data is pretty hard to collect because it's collected through the questionnaires, I guess. How one can measure the inclusion, that's the question, how we started the project. So that person uses the internet once a week, for example. Is it being included? Is it being excluded? So all of this information is quite hard to capture. So that's the first, just simply methodological gaps in collecting the data. And second one is the availability or scale of the data. For some countries, the data is available on the municipal level. For some, is available on the regional level. For some, is available on the NUTS level. And from Eurostat, it's available on the national level. So all these data has to be aggregated and has to be shown that it's possible to compare. Sometimes different countries collect similar data, but not exactly the same. So that's we also have to note and visualize as best as we can.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks like a long road ahead to harmonizing the digital inclusion.
Indeed.
in data, at least. Another question, I think it's also technical and goes to Anna. Is it possible to change the coordinate reference system in the tool for outputs?
Meaning when you print, no, it's predefined already.
Yeah, I guess it's limited, but since you can download the data, you can visualize it yourself and use the coordinate system that you are more using in more often. Yes, I think the next question will be to both of you. What do you think is the biggest benefit of using the tool like that? You already, Maja, mentioned the ability to compare and visualize, but yeah, maybe something else is.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's the biggest benefit. But from what I understand with working with this tool as well is that we can also add new layers. We can add new data when we have more better data. We can add it to this tool. So it's a very flexible tool that we can build on. So this is our first try, and we will be very happy to continue to work with this, to develop it further, and make it better with better layers and better data. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits. It's not like a static tool, it's a flexible one.
Yes, I totally agree with Maja. And another part of this tool is the Digital Inclusion Index, which is also a very flexible index. It's, if I just simplify it, it's just the sum of indexes for every indicator. So right now the maximum is 10 for this index. We can simply make it 15 or 20, just add in more indicators. And it's normalized, so we still can compare the indicators for every country between themselves. So we're not limited in this.
Yeah, thank you for that, sharing that. We've got one more question that is more on the, I would say, philosophical side of data and digital inclusion. So if a person can use mobile to watch TikTok videos, but cannot use internet bank, is this person then included or excluded? I guess, Maja, it's your call here.
Yeah, so that's the thing, like digital inclusion and exclusion, we usually say it's context specific. And that means that a person can be very, very good with like mobile phones, to use TikTok, to use Instagram or whatever app, but is unable to write an email. And we see this, especially in the young generation, that this generation has grown up with a smartphone in their hands. And they are very good at navigating that smartphone, but not as good with computers, or also understanding like the domain knowledge, like how do we understand like the public language that we use in our public web pages or documents. So it is really, a person is not 100% digital excluded or 100% digital included. It really depends on the context. And yeah. Do you want to continue with that?
Yes,
philosophical answer?
I agree. And we have had so many discussion in this project also, like what is inclusion even means. And yeah, as you bring up, there is also a generational stare, like older generation tend to be included better in one area, but excluded maybe completely from another. And it goes down to different generations, versus like younger generation are perfect users of social media, but maybe don't know how to use simple Excel or Word documents or anything more like profession related. Yeah, that's natural. That's exactly how do we measure it. What is the measurement? That's what we want to know.
Yeah. And next one here, we've got more like a reflection from one of our speakers from EIT Urban Mobility on this option to add additional layers. So in future, would it be interesting to add additional layers from sectors that are closely linked to digital inclusion? Having such a tool with a layer for mobility, access, and digital divide would be interesting. I can personally say that we totally agree with that, but maybe you also have some reflections about that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to add more layers depending on what we can find and what we can access. So if you have any good recommendations, please send it to us as well, so we can look at it.
from what I heard while you were discussing the projects and presenting, that the tool was built the way that it should be able to accommodate more and more layers, because the digital inclusion is moving forward, and the data hopefully will catch up. So yeah, that's more or less like a framework, right, for the measuring digital inclusion, so we can add more.
Yes, and that goes into that digital inclusion is not a static topic as well, because the skills you needed 5 years ago will be totally different from the skills you need 5 years in the future. So it's a quickly changing field that we are seeing. So adding more layers, more data, also sector specific, that would be really interesting in the future, because it is a changing field.
Thank you. One more question about the digital inclusion index and the methodology behind. Do you think that should we use also equal weighting of possible indicators for another country's data set?
That's a very good question. I don't really have the answer right now. Maybe we can have the conversation more by mail.
But maybe you can very briefly say a few words about the index and
yes. I really haven't wanted to go into this, but yes. So basically, for every indicator, there is the collection of values, and we find the minimum and maximum for every country. Then we calculate how the value for this specific municipality is related to the minimum and maximum. So we calculate some value from 0 to 1. And this is for all 10 indicators that we have. So basically, it's weighted for every country. Because we have discovered that the values for the indicators are so different for different countries, and we simply cannot put so much weight in some indicator that we know is already too high for the country A and very low for the country B. So that's why we normalize them within the country. So basically all of these 10 indicators for every municipality has a value from 0 to 1. And then we simply sum them up. So we get the whole index, digital inclusion index, from 0 to 10, which is normalized or weighted for every country. I hope that explains.
But am I also correct that this is exactly how you enable to add more indicators in future?
Exactly, because then the end result is the simple sum of the indexes. So that's why adding 5 more or 2 more or 10 more wouldn't change nothing, just the final sum. That will be, let's say, 20. So the inclusion index will have a maximum value of 20.
Yes, and I can just say that if you want to read more about the methodology and data, you can find it in this framework paper that you can also see on the tool. So if you really want to dig into this topic more, you have all of the information there.
Thank you. And how both of you see the future of the tool? Any possibilities for further developments, or what are the next steps?
Yes, as I said, we would love to continue working with this tool. And at Nordregio, we are working with a new project proposal for a continuation of this digital inclusion in action. And if we get that, we will continue with this indicators and monitoring topic, because we see it as a key topic in the future to track progress, to see where inequality still exists. And this tool is the first step for doing that. So I see it as a great, great way to continue to monitor digital inclusion.
And Anna, in your opinion, as a tool developer, of course, there are always something that you still want
I think
to do,
there is a
but-
great potential in further tool development with more data available, maybe different data available, and also the more actors are interested in this. Like if you have some specific interest or specific questions, it also can be tailored to match your demands in this. So yes, I don't see any problems of future of this tool.
We've got a very interesting question here about representation. I will read it, and there is a question in the end. But digital inclusion is not only about access or usability; it's also about how people are represented. Think about commercials, websites, or even movies. If the imagery mostly shows one type of person, for example, young, white, non-disabled, middle-class families, then many groups are left out. Minorities, people with disabilities, or older people don't see themselves represented. This matters because representation signals belonging. When people don't see anyone like themselves in the digital world, it can reinforce social biases and send the message, this isn't designed for you. But here's the challenge. How do we measure something like this? Do we use surveys, audits, or marketing material, or diversity reviews to gather data on representation? Without measuring, it's hard to know where we stand. It's a huge topic, I think.
Yes, and I can begin to answer. Like, I think you touched upon social stigma, and we see this a lot in our qualitative research. In our story map on civil society actors working with digital inclusion questions, many of them highlight that these user groups that they are representing, they are not seen in social media. They are not seen with computers. And I think there was an example of a civil society actors working with elderly that social stigma is a huge challenge for them. We in newspapers and in social media, you see all of the challenges for the elderly, that they are being scammed, that there's frauds and all of this. But we need to talk about the possibilities as well, that with digitalization, elderly can connect with old classmates, old friends. We need to show them the possibilities as well, not just talk about challenges. And how to measure that, I'm not sure, but maybe my brilliant colleague can answer.
Yes. The best solution is to measure the digital inclusion with some digital tools. I think so. But that's not possible because we're talking about the groups who are digitally excluded right now. There is an option to measure it from the traditional set with the questionnaires. But again, by just targeting the groups, we already know the groups who are responding to the questionnaires. It's already not representative groups because the groups who are excluded, they're simply not answering the questions. So that's a classical problem of the research, how to measure some things that we want to measure. And we were trying to go with the untraditional approach of collecting the statistics available around the phenomenon, but not the phenomena per se. So that's why we came up with the tool, and that's why we came up with these layers that try to capture the situation that we have right now without being actually able to measure the situation. Like, for example, showing the share of elderly, or the share of people with low education, or the share of people with disability, or the share of people who are unemployed or living in poverty. So all of this doesn't actually show us the information that we would like to have, but it's showing us the picture around this. And I totally agree that the perfect would have been somehow to measure the disability grade, for example, or what disabilities, for example, prevent from what type of digital services, but that simply is not available.
Yeah. I'm going back to my own discussion in the beginning here. Do you think that combination of qualitative and quantitative studies here can also help, because then we can combine the data with interviews and surveys, probably while identifying some gaps, then we can do more targeted studies in survey and then still get the data.
If I can continue right away to my previous point, I think when we already identified the landscape, that's I think we have been doing now in this tool, in this project, then already know the potential target regions, we can go further and have some field research, some questionnaires, already knowing that there is possibility of studying this problem further, and that there is a problem even to study further. So I think that's the second step, like more in-deep quantitative and qualitative research combined together. Maja?
Yes, I totally agree with that. And I think that's the best kind of research, when you kind of like start very broad and then you narrow it down. That's what we usually do, that we use data and statistics and to see maybe where the larger challenges are. And then we go in with field studies, with interviews, with these more qualitative research methods to really grasp the challenges behind it. And I think that's how we would like to continue to work as well.
Thank you. And one more question from me. Do you think, who do you think are the key users of the tool like that?
I think anyone interested in digital inclusion is going to appreciate this tool. But we see that probably universities and other research institutes will also be interested in this, and policymakers, and also municipality employees, so they can see how their municipality or how their region are doing with this tool. Do you have any other?
Yes, I agree. I think everyone who's interested in the topic of digital inclusion or some digitalization questions would like to broaden the view on this question. It's a simple way to access and quickly understand the data behind it also, so complementary data.
Great. We've got one more question on gender this time. It is interesting to have a gender indicator in the tool. Some also face a lot of harassment online and may want to exclude themselves from certain arenas or hide their gender. What do you think about that problem?
That was one of the potential candidates to be included in the index from the beginning, but the literature review haven't found any specific digital exclusion problems connected to the gender. So it can be added on, but that's have not been the main factor behind the digital inclusion that found in the research.
Yes, and from our previous research, we can also see that the gender question has a higher focus in the Baltic countries than in the Nordic ones. So I think if you're interested in reading more about the gender question, we address it in the policy report that we published in 2024, and also in the story map.
Thank you. So this question is on the map.
Yes.
It's good. Not a comment, but some praise for for you and for the project. Excellent work despite the limited data available. Interesting tool with a lot of application opportunities. Thanks for sharing. And since you mentioned a lot of application opportunities, also feel free to share with us how you are going to use the tool. Because for us, it's interesting also to hear some feedback, and we will be willing to review comments and suggestions and enable those if possible while the project is still running. Yes, we also got a question about the focus of the next Digital Inclusion in Action program. What do you think, Maja? Should we raise the curtain a bit? We are still not sure if we are getting that project and that we are moving forward, but from what I know, that we will be trying to actually having this landscape mapped now to bring some surveys and investigate more on the digital inclusion.
Yes. So as I said, we are working with a project proposal for a continuation of this digital inclusion in action. And in this, hopefully the next project, we are looking at extending this monitoring indicators topic. So the idea is to create like a survey to access, to acquire data, new data that we have identified as relevant for digital inclusion. And then we are, of course, still developing this project proposal, but to get like the insights from the people, we can't just do it online on an online survey. So we are trying to see if we can get like phone surveys to really get the people who are maybe not who are not digital yet, or chose to not be digital. So accessing and getting new data is the topic for next project period.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, exactly.
That it's green lighted and we move forward with that study. So stay tuned to hear more from us on digital inclusion. Thank you, Anna and Maja. It was a brilliant presentation, very interesting discussion, and thank you everyone for amazing questions. We will be sending a feedback form, so feel free to answer the questions and also leave us some comments and suggestions about how the tool could be developed, or if you find something that could work better. Also, if you haven't yet tried the tool, please do so. You can follow the link or use QR code. This is it from us today. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.